Last weekend, he won at Spa in the country of his birth. This weekend in Holland, he is going to win as a Dutch driver, a Dutch national, and it is double Dutch delight for Max Verstappen, who crosses the line to win the Dutch Grand Prix. Tiesto waves the flag. Turn up to the max. Listen to that roar.
Fantastic, isn't it?
Yes! Wow! The Orange Army! Holy jamoles! In the paddock, F1, Greeny and the Cheese. That was David Croft's call, courtesy of, on Sky Sports, courtesy of Formula1.com. As we do all the time, because we love Dave. We are in Holland. Home to Vincent van Gogh. Rembrandt. Rutger Hauer, who played Roy Batty in a personal favorite of mine, the cult classic Blade Runner. Home to Carice Van Houten, and who might she be? Oh, for those Game of Thrones fans, she played the Red Witch. Oh yes, but we're not concerned about that right now. We're here to talk about racing. And we were in Zandvoort, where we haven't been since 1985. They're on the banks of the North Sea, and the Orange Army came out to see their champion, and Mad Max delivered. Greeny, good evening, sir.
Good evening, Cheese. Yeah, I'll talk about the Red Witch for a while. We can go to have some Game of Thrones podcast.
Oh, I thought you'd like that one, my friend.
We can
do a little research.
I'll get down. We can go through the Dutch Grand Prix because not much changed since last night, but we'll get to that shortly. What a race it was. Yes, they did not keep the flares away because they started with those flares like the second they came around with the formation lap. That was like they got a coating, and those cars and those drivers had to be pissed, especially with all those warnings. That was a lot of orange dust going across that track. The wind was blowing in the wrong direction when it started, and that junk went all over the track. It seemed to not affect much of the race, but still, in a day that we saw lots of traffic jams galore, my friend. Traffic jams. An old track. It looked old. It had the feeling that you were going back in time to like the 60s, like watching Mario Andretti back in the day, taking those banks, taking those curves, man. Watching like Niki Lauda, watching like the classics, watching the greats of all time racing, because that's what it felt like a little bit. That's what it felt like a little bit today. And going to a classic track, really, really cool to watch. Very, very exciting day. And tough to pass, as we talked about, tough to pass. But yeah, your thoughts on the track, how it drove, on the race, and how they finished.
I love the old school, as you know, so I was totally jacked for it. It raced like an old school track. Hard to pass, except, in the DRS zones. Saw some interesting moves, though. A little passing on the outside today to make the move instead of on the inside, as we usually see, which is a little different, which I enjoyed. Just got to make the move where he can. And it was actually quicker to go on the outside because you got a little banking. So you could go on the outside. So that was a little bit of a change. The top five didn't change from as they qualified. Just for the fact that it's tough to pass, and you got the quickest cars there, and just made it that much more difficult. Strategy came into play, but not as we probably would have liked to see. It was pretty much once you saw your competitor come in, you came in just to cover it up. really wasn't anything for an undercut. It's a long time down pit lane, which is super tight pit lane. Almost saw a couple incidents just in pit lane itself occur just because of how tight it was. But a good race. Lewis gave it a valiant effort. Got within a second there for a bit, but just could not make the move. And the Dutch army saw their champion win. They came out, and that was probably one of the most ridiculous scenes I've seen in an F1 race in quite a while. That was a scene, man. That roar when he crossed the finish line was out of control. Out of control.
Yeah, and you can even see Lewis, who, I mean, there might have been 8 million reasons why he was smiling. Definitely one of the reasons is not that he's 3 points behind in the overall championship standings at the moment. But that was overwhelming. That was overwhelming for the drivers, I think, as well. Even Lewis, who just fought brilliantly all day. You didn't see what you thought you might see with that first lap. Max took off pretty quickly. He got about second lead pretty quickly. So he was gone today. I mean, he had open air and he was gone. And despite the traffic jams, despite coming back around on his own teammate later on, that was a really, really tough day. Max might have lapped the field again today. I know we had that earlier in the season. I forget what race.
Only Lewis and Valtteri, I think, finished on the lead lap.
On the lead lap.
Everybody but the top 3.
And I think it was Bottas just made it. So pretty much he almost lapped the whole field. I mean, obviously, if it wasn't for Lewis, Max could have lapped the field today. It's pretty crazy. That's how good Max Verstappen is, and that's how good Lewis Hamilton is to be 3 points behind him. I mean, let's put it that way, because Max right now, you might be looking back at this in 20, 30 years at the 2021 Formula One season and Max Verstappen. This could be one of the greats of all time, and you have someone like Lewis Hamilton going toe to toe with him. I mean, these might be 2 of the greatest drivers that ever lived. Watching right now, so this is special. 7th time that they were both.
Let's pump the brakes there a little bit.
This could be.
Let's pump the brakes. He hasn't even won a world title yet. Lewis is 7. Let's pump the brakes.
I said 30 years down the road.
The season's not over yet. We can't give the man. He might be one of the greatest of all times. He doesn't even have a world title. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes.
The kid is like the LeBron James of
he's
racing.
Good. He's good, but win something first. The season ain't over yet. The season's not over. There's plenty of races to go yet. It's a 3-point lead. I mean, look, Mercedes next week, Mercedes could have the upper hand being in Imola. And if Lewis wins the race, then he's back in the lead. So let's pump the brakes. Ain't won nothing yet. Calm yourself. Let's come back to reality instead of fantasy land. I don't know what you were medicating on before the show, but I was hitting the motor breath again like I did last night, just to throw that in there too. Grassroots, little shout out. But I don't know what you're medicating on, but you might have to send some of that over here. And I know I'm getting way better stuff than you are, so I don't know what that junk might be laced with out there in funky door land out there. I don't know. You come back to reality, sir. Come back.
These are all good points. But I said there's good possibility that you might look back at this season in 30 years and be like, wow. Could be. And I'm looking at one guy who's a legend. I know you're guaranteed to look at one guy who's a legend. That's Lewis Hamilton. And the way he's driving this year is really fantastic. It really is. To be only 3 points behind Max is pretty special, because Max is driving out of his mind right now.
The Merc is definitely the inferior car.
Yeah. No, Mercedes is definitely the inferior car this year. Valtteri Bottas did make podium. Anything else to look at before we go to winners and losers in our next segment and dusting it off? A little slap your own damn self award tonight. Dusting that out of the archives. Or so I hear. Or so I hear. It could be wrong. We got Greeny Bucks coming up. We got some interesting stuff that went down with Greeny Bucks.
Look at that grin on your face.
So
already.
We'll see.
Look at the
We'll see
grin
what
on.
happens.
Look at that crap-eating grin on your face.
You're gonna find out in, I would say, about 20 minutes what's going on with that.
How about we talk about when Seb went to make the move on the Haas and lost it in 3, and probably Valtteri Bottas at the scare of his life there.
Yeah.
That could have been something crazy.
That could have been. It could have been. You know, and we say it all the time. I mean, look how much faster these cars are than we laugh at the last time the track record was when you race on a track, when you go 36 years without racing on a track, and then you set the new lap time, and you're like, yeah, destroy that record. Like,
well, I think Jenson Button, former world champion, said when he raced there, he did it in F3 back in the day, and he said that was crazy fast then. He's like, it's got to be insane to do it in a current Formula 1 car.
Yeah, so, I mean, these tracks are getting more and more dangerous. They are. Especially when you take these new cars and bring them to the old tracks. We've been seeing some of that now that we've been dusting off some of these older tracks. So, these cars were not made for these tracks. They weren't. I mean, just be straight up honest that, the cars that we're looking at today were not made for tracks like Zandvoort. They weren't. And you could tell how much different it looks. And these are bigger, these are heavier, these are the heaviest cars we've ever seen. So in Formula One. So it looks different. Looks pretty awesome. Looks totally vintage. Looks like the cornfields, the Yankees and White Sox playing in the cornfields a little bit. It's got kind of that kind of vibe. That kind of vibe of just like back in the day. You remember back in the day. So yeah, I mean, I really like that vibe. And without giving up too much winners and losers for the next round and talking about all that, really, really enjoyed watching them out there. Really enjoyed everything but the flares. I'm not down with the flares. Maybe after the race is over, and I definitely wasn't down with the traffic jams. But the flares, you got to do something about the flares.
Well, that's the traffic jams. That's just Zandvoort's a short circuit. So you're gonna get that when people just aren't on the pace like everybody else is. I mean, the top 3 are flying around. Everybody else wasn't, didn't have that kind of pace on the race pace or their strategies. A lot of people outside the top few cars went for a 1-stop, so they couldn't throw the hammer down like the top 3, who were on 2 stops. So that's the difference. I like the old school tracks just the way they flow, because if you think about the track, it flows. Everything flows at an old school track. Corner to corner, there's a flow to it. Yeah, the cars are a little bit bigger than they used to be, but you know what? You got to adjust to it. There's no coming off the you don't have to have track limits at an old school track because there's no runoff. There's gravel traps. So there is no, there's no track limits, because if you take the limit of the track, you're done. So that's the difference, and I think it makes it harder on the drivers. So you can't throw it out there and run off and have that extra escape route. You got to manage it.
Yeah,
it's more demanding for the drivers. It's old school. There's no if I mess up here, I can take it out to the runoff area, and if anything, maybe I'll get a couple second penalty. Not, oh crap, I'm stuck in the gravel trap and my race is over on the lap 3.
Yeah,
if that does happen. So it's a bigger challenge for the drivers, and I like that.
It didn't, and no safety car. How about that? Do you like
Surprise.
apples?
Surprise.
Do you like apples? How do you like them apples? No safety car, my friend. Something we talked about last night, how we would definitely, most likely not see one. And I think everyone was surprised with the lack of the safety car, especially on that track. But drivers were driving more carefully. We saw the top 5 come in as the top 5 went out. And I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more in the next segment. And yeah, that's all I got for the overall. We're going to get into the nitty gritty and the details before we'll see if I do my happy dance or I'm completely decimated in Greeny bucks. We'll see. We'll have that coming up. And of course, someone's going to slap their own damn self tonight. I'm feeling it coming. I see the baby powder out, and somebody's going to slap their own self in the face. So we're going to see that. Greeny the cheese in the paddock F1. Back after this. What's up, everyone? Greeny from In the Paddock here. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Please let me explain. It's free. Okay, free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you for free, so it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many, many more. You can make money as well. Money with your podcast. No minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. We are back, Greeny and the Cheese in the Paddock F1. You know what time it is. It's time for the Race Weekly Cheese Awards. It's been a while, my friend. It's been a while. We had no awards last week, obviously. Then we had our halftime show. We had no awards in our halftime show.
No.
And then we had 3 weeks off before that. So it's been like 5 weeks since awards. The fans need awards, my friend, to validate their feelings. Hopefully their feelings align with your feelings. So it's been a while. I forget what we chose last time, if we did winners or losers last time. But I feel since we've been gone for so long.
Don't you have it in your notebook? Do you have it in the Marvel notebook?
I probably do. I'm not going to flip back that far.
I ain't got time for this.
I don't know. Losers we did last time. So let's go with winners. Let's stay positive and start positive.
All right. I got a couple here for you. The Scuderia Ferrari. Big winners this week. 5th and 7th. Moves them into 3rd in the Constructors ahead of McLaren. Oh, yes. Ferrari is up to 3rd in the Constructors, boys and girls. The red cars be coming. Which, that makes me super pumped.
Yeah. Alberto Ascari would be proud, my friend. Squeaking
ways to go. We got a ways to go there.
Squeaking up into 3rd, but I listen. I didn't think that they would get past McLaren.
It's 11 or 12 points.
Yeah, I didn't think they would get past McLaren at any point this season. So for them to be competitive and now solidly on their own in 3rd, very impressive. Bravo to Scuderia, holding the line even though they were -1 on the day. Sainz lost a position and Leclerc finished where he started. But yeah, it's going to be a run down the stretch. It's fun to see these two teams battling it out for 3rd. It makes a lot for the season. It means a lot that Scuderia and McLaren are going to be fighting their way down.
That's big money.
Really, yeah, they're really, really going to be some exciting stuff and some really fun stuff to watch, and adds a lot of flavor to this already flavorful 2021 F1 season. What else you got, winner?
Pierre Gasly coming with a 4th. Another top 5 for Pierre. Bringing it. I've heard some things. I heard he was pissed. He didn't get picked to take over the 2nd Red Bull seat. They stuck with Perez. But to be honest, I don't think he would want that seat, because as we all know, that is the cursed seat of Red Bull. The second seat of Red Bull's cursed. So I think he'd be better off trying to shoot for that McLaren seat that I've heard some rumors about, with possibly Danny Ricciardo getting the boot out. So,
Yeah.
but Pierre don't know the top 5 in. So Pierre's been throwing it down in the AlphaTauri this year. Out-driving the car. Absolutely out-driving the car. So we're going to give him kudos. And that will be my second other winner for the week. Do you got any, sir?
Listen, I got a couple. Besides Checo coming from way behind. Speaking of the curse of the second seat, way behind, starting dead last, and came all the way back. Had a lot of great passing moments, a lot of tight passes. But he ended up in 8th, which I believe I called last night that Checo would finish 8th or 9th. So he finished 8th, plus 12. So we'll talk about that a little more next segment. And, got to give it to Fernando. Once again, my friend. Defying the odds, defying the age, Fernando Alonso finished 6th, plus 3 positions this week. In a tough track. What do you got to say? What do you got to say? He passed Carlos towards the end of the race. That was heartbreaking for you, to knock Sainz into 7th, and Alonso took 6th. So pretty impressive stuff.
Well, man's a legend.
Yeah.
Man's a legend.
Just because you're a legend doesn't mean you're going to go out there and compete with these guys. These young guys. These guys were 20, 21, 22 years old.
He's still just that damn good.
Ageless Fernando Alonso. So once again, I'm on the Fernando Alonso train because he not get enough kudos this season outside of winning a race. Cannot get enough kudos. Those are my winners this week.
All right, so then we'll move on to the losers. My first loser is going to be McLaren. Losing that 3rd spot in the constructors, only getting, Lando finished 10th, Danny finished 11th.
Point.
So 1 point. 1 point. It's not going to cut it. Not when you're trying to battle for that 3rd spot. So McLaren's my first loser. And secondly, we gave him a little kudos and a little props last night. Complete disappointment today. Antonio Giovinazzi. Starts 7th and he finished 14th. Just not good enough, especially when you're trying to fight for your job. So absolute disappointment. Definitely a loser. At that rate, he might be out of that seat because that's not what he needed today. And he spit the bit. You got anybody on the lose train?
Yuki's a mess out there. That's for sure. Russell had a great qualifying session and then couldn't hold, but he's still on the Williams. But after, last week, definitely that was the luckiest podium of his life because, he lost 6 spots this week. And again, Danny, just couldn't keep pace, starts in the points, ends out of the points. And of course, Giovinazzi, who you mentioned as well, very, very disappointing. A lot of ups, such an up last night, finishing in tied for the best spot he's ever finished in 7th to quali. And then, as you said, spits the bit big time, losing 7 spots and finishing 14th today. So, yeah, man, those are some losers. I see you warming up those hands because I think you got something to say.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's get out that baby powder and somebody's going to slap them damn selves in the face. And that's going to be Mercedes. Crap strategy. The end there, throwing Lewis on the mediums instead of the hards, that was just a stupid move. Especially after, you heard Max question it when he got thrown on the hards, and his team came back and said, the Ferraris are showing good pace on it. So that was just another dumb move from Mercedes. Poor first pit stop. Lost Lewis a second there. And then, you got somebody on the way out, and he basically gave the team the flip-off today that'd be Valtteri Bottas, putting in that hot lap there, taking away the fastest lap and causing Mercedes to pit Lewis a third time to throw on the softs to get that extra point. Basically forced Mercedes' hand to not let Lewis even try and catch Max. So just an all-around absolute mess from Mercedes today. They rolled the dice twice. It was trash. Bad tire call yet again. Bad pit stop. And you got your driver on the way out, flipping you off on the way out. So just an absolute mess. Get out the powder and slap yourself.
But they brought Bottas in. And then he goes out there and gets the fastest lap. And then they're like, oh, crap, we just gave up a point to Lewis. What were they thinking? What was Mercedes thinking? Because they brought him in. He didn't just drive in and get new tires. He doesn't make that call. He didn't box himself. He came in. It was, and you're right, it's Mercedes. You can't blame
just
Bottas.
An absolute mess.
You can't blame Hamilton. This goes back, kind of like Abu Dhabi last year, which was just a mess, and a couple spots with Mercedes. And we talked about it earlier in the season that these little things are going to come back to haunt you. When you have 3 points separating first and second, 3 points, these little things are going to come back to haunt you. That's the difference between first and second. As Jerry Seinfeld says, in the 100-meter dash, the guy who finishes in 10 seconds could be the greatest runner of the world. And the guy who finished at 9 or 10.1 seconds, never heard of him. So, it's sometimes it's just a tenth of a second. It's really, it's a tenth of a second difference between you're the greatest of all time to never heard of you. So, keep that in mind as we go here, because that's probably one of the reasons why today, I don't know if Max would have lost the race regardless. But definitely one of the reasons why Mercedes is in second and Red Bull is back.
Well, I mean, you got to give it a go, man. You wasn't like 10 seconds back from Max.
Yeah,
it's like 2, 3. I mean, a few laps to go if you're trying to save your time. I mean, you could, it's possible to make it up, but then you got Manus' strategy going on and then you're telling Valtteri, oh no, slow down. We don't want you to get the fastest lap because Lewis had it. I mean, it's a total disarray. I think Valtteri's also giving the finger too there. He didn't really slow down that much.
I don't know about that because earlier in the race,
Come on, he's pissed. He's pissed he's getting the boot. He doesn't want to be going to Alfa Romeo where it's going to be announced this week. Come on. Yeah. You don't want to go from the penthouse to the outhouse? Come on now.
Yeah, Alfa's probably the outhouse. He's not finishing. He's not
going to go from the front of the pack to fighting for trying to get strategy to get points like Kimi does almost, most weeks. I mean,
when you're in a Mercedes,
come on.
When you're in a Mercedes and you're 13 races in and you haven't won a race yet, you get the boot. When Max won a race, Checo won a race, Hamilton won a race. Esteban Ocon won a race. I mean, you're not in that list. He's not on the list of drivers that won a race this season. And that's what you need to do. How many times have we gotten to the 13th race of the season over the last 7-8 years, and we did not have both Mercedes drivers winning a race? Think about that.
It's been a while.
Think about that.
It's been a while.
So, we're used to seeing, I'm sure Mercedes is used to seeing both of their drivers winning races and not just letting one driver. Even last season, Valtteri had won races last season. Mm-hmm. So this is unfamiliar territory to not have the second driver in Mercedes not winning. So,
well, they don't have the best car. Lewis is out driving the car. Because Lewis is just that darn good.
Third place isn't good enough. And Valtteri's feeling it right now. He's feeling it. He's getting paid for a guy who should win a couple races. And whether it's luck, whether it's skill, whatever it is, he hasn't won the race. Put up or shut up. Once again, he did not put up or shut up, and he lost the seat. And he lost it plain and simple. Plain and simple. You're not going to win a Mercedes, so you might as well drive the Alfa Romeo. Right? Right? You're not going to win anyway.
No.
You're not.
No.
You know? You're not bringing home the prom queen anyway. No matter what you do.
I can't with you right now.
Anyway, those are my 2 cents. We got another segment coming up, folks, so don't go anywhere. Because we got Greeny Bucks. Oh, yeah. I think I might have caught up, but I guess we'll see. I might be doing the happy dance. I don't know. Greeny and the cheese in the paddock. Back after this.
Yes, we are back, F1 Lunatics, in the paddock, F1 Greeny and the cheese. Everybody's favorite segment of the week. Are we cashing in? Or are we checking out? And looking at that cat over there trying to hide that crab-eating grin on his face.
Finally!
Somebody's doing the Snoopy happy dance.
Finally! My friend, it is truly a Hall & Oates double gun Sunday evening. Because I will be doing that happy dance.
You're not gonna throw the music in there. You're gonna say that and have no music. Come
no
on,
music. No music.
That is an absolute farce, trash, a joke. Come on now, you're gonna give me a Hall & Oates double gun Sunday evening and not have the music there to back it up. Come on now. Come on now.
It's a terrible job. I know it's a terrible job.
That is a terrible job. As you fiddle to get the music set.
I fiddled my way. Yes! 3 for 3. And if you let me take the safety car, Ben, I would have been 4 for 4. You told me I couldn't take it. Oh yeah! Because of you making my dreams come true. Alright, that's all you get. That's all you get. There's 2 minutes of celebration. Actually, about a minute of celebration, a minute of fumbling, and some ambient noise in the background. Yeah, that's about as good as it gets right there. 3 for 3. It's been a while. I have a total now of 600 Greeny Bucks, which is actually pretty sad overall, but under the circumstances.
You went 3 for 3 and only gained like $100.
I had to play conservative. I wanted to gain some ground back. You ended up losing 20, so you end up 1,080. You did get Max as the winner. I had Perez as the biggest gainer of the day. 12 spots. That'll get the win. I also hit the trifecta, Max, Hamilton, Bottas. It was not a lucratively paying trifecta as you got earlier in the season. Only paid 4.5 to 1, so it was not so lucrative. Squeezed out 80 Greeny Bucks in the process, and up to 600. So I was down by 580, and now I'm down by 480. So you might be a big whale, but my rod is cast. I think I got you hooked, and I'm slowly reeling you back in. I'm furiously rolling that rod.
Roll that. You're not gonna keep rolling the hard 6, sir. Come on now. You ain't rolling that hard 6.
Races, I got 10 races.
You hit all 3, and you gained like $80, dude. At least when I hit all 3, I got a little jackpot in there.
Well,
You hit all 3, and you got $80.
It's intrinsic.
You got $80.
It's intrinsic because if I kept spending at the clip that I wanted to spend at, and I lost again, I'd be in a big hole. So I needed to gain a little more ground. Like I said yesterday, run the Momo train, okay? The momentum is going. You got your ticket. You're on the train. It's moving. It doesn't start. You don't go from 0 to 100 like when you get on the train. It goes slow. So we got to go slow to get the Momo train going. And we're going to go across this country and across this globe in 10 weeks or 10 races. And I think you're going to be sweating it out heading into Abu Dhabi at the end of the season. My prediction, that you're laughing now, but the Lord of Greentopia for the 2021 season is not set in stone just yet, my friend. So back the truck up. Back the truck up is an inch closer.
I'm not worried because you're a lunatic. And next week, because you hit something, you'll start throwing down $100 lunatic bets, and it'll blow up in your face because that's what a lunatic does. And you're a lunatic.
That might happen.
It's definitely because you hit something. All the mathematicians you brought in over the last week to do all your mathematical computations. You're throwing that. You might as well get the lighter out now and just light it up and set it on fire or throw it in the fireplace. Because that's exactly where you're going to end up with it. Because you're throwing that out the window now. You got to win. You got to get that super high of that momentum train you think you're running, and you're going to throw it out the window. You're going to do something stupid again. Throw down some lunacy.
No, I disagree.
You say this every time when you come up with some sane betting. You say we'll not go back to the lunacy train. And then the next week comes, and boom, you're right back on it. It's why you're laughing right now, because you know it's true. The truth hurts, my friend. It's also funny truth. It's true.
The truth hurts, my friend. The truth hurts. Thank you. Thank you. Let me shoot you straight. You stink. Is that what you're trying to say?
Hey, you've known me for how many years now, sir? You know we don't sugarcoat. You know we don't sugarcoat nothing for you. I'm going to tell it to you straight, son.
Yeah, too many.
You're a madman, and you could come back to sanity and reality for a week, but then you go right. You're like a villain in Batman. You go on the insane train. You get thrown in Arkham. That kind of gets you back normal. You get out. You break out. And then you go back to the lunacy train again. You come back to reality. And then it's back on the lunacy train. You're like Lord Helmet in Spaceballs. Give me ludicrous speed now.
Give me ludicrous speed.
That's you.
It's like I escaped from Arkham Asylum, ended up in the zoo, trading monkeys to rob banks for me or something. Is this what you're trying to say?
You're a madman. That's all.
Well, we'll see what happens. It's worked for me so far in life. Hopefully it'll work out here. I'm not going to go as far as guarantee that I am going to maybe not win, but make you sweat. Because right now you ain't sweating. You're not waking up in the middle of the night and be like, oh man, I think this dude's going to beat me. Like zero. The confidence level is sky high. I guarantee, I can come close to guaranteeing I will shake your confidence by the end of the season.
Well, that's not that hard to do, to be honest.
I will shake your confidence. I don't think your confidence is shaken catching up on 100.
No.
A little. Maybe a tad.
No. Not really, no. No.
Because you had a big lead. You had a very big lead. Now you just have a regular big lead.
Still have a big lead.
We'll see what happens.
Still have a big lead. If I hit something again, you're done. I went for the neck. I had Bottas on my sheet for the trifecta, but I said no. I want to try and go for the neck here, and I want to see a little something. And if I hit that, and then you would have been toast. So I was going for the jugular. So maybe next week we come back to a little sanity. We don't go for the throat. We just go for the steady gain. Because usually we match a lot of bets here.
We do. So it's hard to wiggle around. So I was excited yesterday to be able to have some different bets than you, especially with the trifecta.
I mean, I had Bottas.
Gainer, so.
I had Bottas and Leclerc for third. I didn't make the decision until about a minute before I said it on the podcast. It was up in the air. Bottas was the safe pick. Leclerc was the outside the box to go for the jugular. And I wanted to go for the jugular. As you said last night, you were a lunatic early because you wanted to put the foot on my throat. So I was going for the jugular. I was going to cut that throat last night.
You tried. You tried to punch me in the throat and kill me. You did not. You did not.
Did
like
not.
The cockroaches of the earth. You didn't get me yet. And I will come back. I will come back next week. If I can catch up, I would say another 100 next week. We're looking at a really close race as we inch closer to the end of the season. And of course, if you want to, let me or Cheese know in person or online how right or how wrong we are, you can always catch up on us. Cheese in the Paddock at Instagram, Greeny in the Paddock, also at Instagram. And email us, man. Be part of the show. We'd love to have you as part of the show. So that is inthepaddockusa@gmail.com, inthepaddockusa@gmail.com. So hit us up at any of those places. We'd love to share some questions, answer some questions, talk about, how you're enjoying the show or not enjoying the show. Either way, hit us up. We'd love to chat. Any
Feedback, please. Feedback, please. Yes, feedback.
Feedback. Man's looking for some feedback.
We need some interactions. We got to hear from these people around the world that are tuning in.
Yeah, always want people something. Downloading and listening. But not too many people reaching out. So hopefully you guys will have a little courage and reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to put you on the show. And love to get you involved. It is nothing without you at home or in your car or at work, pretending to work and actually listening to In the Paddock F1 with Greeny and the Cheese. And we are eternally grateful. Until next time, my friend. Peace be with you.
We're going to be at the Temple of Speed.
Ooh.
Monza,
another classic racetrack, taking you back in the day. Yeah, Monza next week, right?
Speed. This Friday. FP1. It's the last of the triple header. Post break.
It ended up not really being a triple header.
Well, thanks to Mother Nature, yes, but
ended up being a double header with some lunacy on top.
Well, double header with a farce thrown in there, so. But yes,
that was.
We are at the Temple of Speed in Italy. So we'll see you in 6 days.
6 days, my friend.
Saturday night special.
Saturday night. Say what you got to say, homeboy.
Stay medicated, my friends. We'll catch you in 6 days.
Peace.